So I've gathered up a few things that I'm going to need to do this job. Of course we need materials, and to start off with, the materials that we're going to need would be 2x4s. I've got some 2x4s here. They're 8 foot. They're 8 foot length. They'll be cut to whatever length is necessary. Obviously that's not 8 feet in there. We're looking at probably about 4 foot or so to finish that up, frame it up. So they'll be cut up into chunks as necessary. And here are some of the tools that I'm going to need to work with. Obviously we're going to need a hammer. Claw hammer is the best, because if you need to pull something apart, you can use the claw. The other side you can drive nails, although I'm not going to use nails. I'm going to use screws. Wood screws, common wood screws. I want to use these because if I have to take something apart, it's easy to take it apart afterwards. So what we've got here is just your standard Robertson head, square. It's about a 2.5, 3-inch nail. Or sorry, 2.5, 3-inch screw. And I've been using that for a lot of stuff around the house. It works good. Plenty strong enough, plenty big enough to do the job. It'll go through most 2x4s or anything. Like go through your gyprock. It's about this thick, and then you got lots to bite into the 2x4 or whatever you're screwing into afterwards. Pretty solid. And in order to put the screws in, we need something like this. It's got a Robertson bit on it, square, matches up with the head of the screw. It's 18 volt. This one here is a Black & Decker. You can use whatever you want, but as long as you get some sort of a drill with a driver in it. This is 18 volt. It's got a battery on it. I have additional batteries. It's always good to have a few freshly charged batteries. If you only have 2 batteries, you can use one up, leave one on the charger. And when this one goes dead, you swap out, put this on the drill, and put this on the charger. They take 15 to 20 minutes to charge, half hour max. And another handy outfit is a nice handsaw. I mean, this is cheap. You can get them anywhere. I do believe it's a crosscut. I'm not really sure. For those who don't know, there's a crosscut, and then there's a rip. When you want to buy a saw like this, you get a crosscut or a rip. For those who don't know, crosscut means you're going across the grain of the wood. In this case, with a 2x4, it would be this way. A rip would mean that you're going to go with the grain. You'd be going this way with the grain. I won't be doing any ripping of 2x4s. It'll be all crosscut. All crosscut. If I wanted a 2x2, then I would actually rip a 2x4 out the center, and then I'd have 2x2s, approximately 2x2s. This isn't exactly 4. It's a little bit like 3.5 or 3 3/4. Call it a 2x4. But yeah, if I wanted a 2x2 or something there close, I would rip this. But I'm not going to need that. I'm going to need the 2x4. So another handy tool is a nice Black & Decker. It doesn't have to be Black & Decker. It's 14 amp skill saw. And again, skill saw, any saw that you get that way, in terms of wood cutting saws, will be a crosscut or a rip. And you might get something that's a combination of the two. I'm not sure if they have that or not. I think they do. But anyway, I'm not sure what this is. I've been using this mostly for crosscut. You can use this to cut gyprock. Gyprock's easier to cut with a box knife or utility knife than it would be to cut with this. It makes a real mess if you use something like this. But you can use this. But it's good for plywood. It's good for 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s, 2x10s, whatever, anything you want to cut. This is good. You can angle this. You can set the depth of the blade, how far down the blade will go, or how far up the blade will go. And it works really well. You can plug it into your standard outlet in the house, and or into an extension cord and then into the wall, and you get as much reach as you need with it. So there's one other item I'll show you. It's a little too big for me to carry up and set with the other tools, so still downstairs. This is probably where I'd leave it if I was going to use it, is down here as well, because there's more space. And this causes a lot of dust when you use this here. We're using it inside, so we want to minimize the dust. So we would keep it downstairs where we can sweep things up afterwards. But this is what you call a table saw. Here's your blade. Right now it's angled at about a 30-degree angle or so. So you can see, obviously you can angle it. It should be 90 degrees for most anything I'm going to do with that stuff up there. I don't think I need any 45s or anything. But if I do need to make an adjustment, the adjustment handle is here. It's just a crank. You turn it on here. It says 0 to 45. You just turn that crank one way or the other, and that'll angle the blade or straighten the blade up. Right now it's about like I said, about 30 degrees. I can turn it like this, and this is what I'll do when I get ready to use it. We'd feed the saw from this side. This here is used for determining how wide a piece you want to cut, or how long of a piece you want to cut. You know, if I wanted something 6 inches long, I'd measure from here to here 6 inches. I'd lock it down. Once it's locked down, you got 6 inches. It's square to the blade. You have your ruler here that'll let you see what the distance is that you're measuring, 6 inches or whatever. But I always still like to take the measure tape, measure from the saw to here just to be sure. This piece here is very common to see this removed from a saw, but in terms of safety, it's not a good idea. It should actually be on the saw. It attaches down here on this unit. I'm trying to work with one hand here, guys. It attaches down here, and what it does is it sits over the blade, and it kind of keeps you from hitting your hand on a blade. It also serves as a dust guard, puts most of the dust down instead of in your face. And of course, when you start to run something through, it's designed in such a way that it'll lift and let the wood go through. Also has a piece on the back here. It's hard to see, but it's down in here. This little piece right there. What that is anti-kickback. So a saw like this turns pretty fast, and you're pushing something through. Sometimes the saw can bind on the material, and it will bind on the material and shoot the material back at you. So if you're standing here, wham, you're going to get that material right in the groin. So it's always a good idea to stand a little bit off to the side, you know, from where you're actually cutting, where your wood is being fed through, which will be here. It's always better to stand off a little bit to the side, or if you're left-handed, you can actually stand off to this side. I'm right-handed, so I'd stand off this way, or on this side. So yeah, this is supposed to keep the stuff from kicking back, and it works quite well. But sometimes when you're trying to do something, like if you're cutting something quite thick, this piece can get in the way. You know, sometimes it just doesn't move enough or whatever. Sometimes it's inconvenient. Sometimes it has to be removed, put out of the way somewhere. Really, you shouldn't do that. If the piece you're cutting is too big to go through this, then you should be using a bigger saw, or better saw, some sort, or some other method. But just like everybody else, I'm stupid, and I took it off. So this table is actually a cheap one. It's not that expensive, but it's pretty handy. It's got a couple of locks down here. You undo the lock there, and then you can extend the table. If you got bigger pieces, like you want to run a piece of wide plywood through, and you need to be able to have lots of table width, you can actually stretch it out. And of course, you can stretch this side out over here as well. So you know you can actually make it. You can actually make it quite wide. On this side over here, sometimes when you get a big piece and it's quite long, what'll happen is once you start feeding it through, and the majority of your material comes on this side of the saw, it gets heavy, and then you have to hold down on that side to keep it from flipping up. Well, what this does is it allows you to. It's also got locks. And I kind of got it jammed up here, I think. But this piece will also pull out. It requires two hands. But just to give you an idea, there's a beam in here, or a piece of metal in here, bar. There's one here too, as you can see. And this actually extends. It'll extend out probably about 1.5 feet or so, and that helps to carry most of the load of the weight of the material if you're using a big piece, and you don't want it to drop down on you while you're trying to cut. So that helps it quite a bit. Like I said, it's a cheap saw. It's good for a lot of things, but it's not good for full-on everyday building a house or whatever. I mean, you can get you probably could have one of these on site if you're building a house or something, but you'd need other equipment to go with it. But this will do a lot, and this is cheap. The question is, when you don't spend much money and you use something like this and you use it a lot on a regular basis every day on a job site, it's questionable as to how long the motor would stand up. It's a light-duty motor. It's not designed for heavy-duty work, so it probably wouldn't hold up that long. But it'll do for what we want to do here. So that's pretty much it for tools. Of course, when you want to clean up later, you need a shop vac of some sort, like there's one there. And I have a second one here. It's great for cleaning up sawdust. You don't want to leave a lot of sawdust around. You try to sweep it up with the broom. It's a bit of a pain. So yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of tools that I'm going to need to work with. Might need an odd screwdriver or something here and there, but I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, this is the area where we're going to put the new shelf in right there. Got to clean all that mess out first, get that out of the way. Some of that stuff's pretty big. Once the shelf's in and the doors are on, it might be pretty much impossible to get some of that out, like that suitcase back there. So we will remove all of that first. And then once that's up, we're going to remove that mirror. And we're going to try to string this one in such a way that we can put it up in its place. And then once all that stuff is done and the shelf is done over here, we'll get the gyprock on there, the gyprock on there. We'll get the ceiling done. We'll try to finish this up somehow. These pipes are going to cause a bit of a problem here. They are. This wasn't really very well designed. I guess they probably didn't have much choice how they put this stuff in, but these pipes are hanging down too low. They should actually have been up above the ceiling height so that I could actually sheet that in without having to worry about the pipes. But it looks like I might have to build a box or something out a little bit for that to cover it over. I'm not sure how to do it here yet. We'll figure that out later. First things first is yeah, we'll get these shelves up. That's the first project, and then we'll go from there. So until next time, guys, peace out.